Everest Live. It is August 27th. Today's update on the disastrous flash flooding that happened in Nepal's Raswa region. We have an update and a special guest here today who's going to help us make sense of how this actually happened. But first, we're going to get into the updates on what's going on the ground. Basically, we've kind of the golden hour that happens after a natural disaster like this, where people can be recovered and rescued, is passing and ending. And the relief efforts, which are being run by the Nepal Army and police forces, are moving into the unfortunate body recovery mode. Different teams are mobilizing, are heading to the disaster site, where they will all be helping out with the efforts, which have been coordinated through the Nepal government. The people I've been talking to on the ground, by and large, have been really impressed with the responsiveness and the engagement from the Nepal government. And that's news that I, and I'm sure all of us, are very glad to hear. Within that, the numbers also have been updated. There are 667 tourists missing after this event. 127 of those are Nepali. The rest are international tourists who are heading up this valley on their way to do a Mount Kailash Kora, or circumambulation, or were trekking. There's also a annual event at a sacred lake in the area as well. So it was a even though it's in the monsoon, it was quite a crowded time for tourism. Only 31 of those have currently been recovered and confirmed to survive. For them and everybody in the affected areas, of course, we're just holding out hope and sending lots of energy to the rescue teams. The official death toll has risen to 350. Unfortunately, everything is looking towards that number going much, much higher in the coming days. Last bit of information, I'm going to kind of follow up on what I said yesterday, which is getting tons of requests from people that are like, how do I help out? What do I do? Do I go to Nepal? I'm going to say again, it's not the time to go to Nepal. Right now, Nepal is leading the rescue efforts. They're relying on professionals from all over the world. Nepal knows what it's doing, and Nepal is sovereign and in charge in this. They don't need a bunch of us showing up and depleting the resources. So for other people who want to give funds, who want to help out in that way, what I would say is give it a couple more days. And then once the relief efforts, once the need is established, once these mechanisms, even simple things like how do you get to and from the disaster area, once those things are settled, that's when the funding is more important. Right now, we're not in the funding phase yet. So the money you want to donate for Nepal, set it aside, put it in a shoebox, sit on it for another 3 or 4 days. And then after that, a clearer picture is going to emerge as to what the need is and also the best and most effective way to channel that funding. So hold tight. I know we all want to help, but your help is going to go so much further in the coming days as the media cycle around this fades, as everybody sort of forgets or moves on to the next thing. That's actually when the communities are going to need your help the most. So today, I'm so happy to have my close friend, fellow Everest aficionado, fellow Nat Geo explorer, geologist extraordinaire, Arbindra Khadka, here with us to help us explain how did this happen, what actually went on. Arbindra is a 2-time Everest summiter. He's been to the South Col 3 times. He was responsible for maintaining the National Geographic weather stations, which were the highest weather stations in the world. He's the world expert on this stuff. Arbindra, thank you so much for letting me force you into jumping on a video call with me tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Dai. Thank you for the nice introduction. And just one correction, I'm a field glaciologist by profession and high
Okay.
altitude meteorologist. Then I won't say geologist.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, I apologize for that. And Ari, I'm so sorry as well. You're from Nuakot. You're from one of the affected communities. I'm so sorry for your loss. Can you just give us an update as to what's happening back in your hometown and how things are going there?
So thank you, Vendai, for this opportunity. So yeah, as I grown in Nuwakot. I'm very much familiar with most of the area. And my hometown is in another basin, Tadi Khola basin, but not the Trisuli Khola basin. So most of my family relatives are there, not in that basin, but still, as the local people, we have lots of known friends, family, and relatives are like missing there, along with lots of local people from that side and international people from that side. And we are very sad to see sort of very devastating and unimaginable hazard.
Yeah.
Very sad for all the global community, not only for me, but yeah, it's very hard for us as a local person from that part. But yeah, it's very hard time for all of us.
And so Ari, is this event, as a meteorologist and glaciologist or field glaciologist, is something like, how common is this? How does this compare to other geological events? You know, I know that, so one of the things that hasn't been talked about much in the media, but was last year in this same basin, there was another huge flooding event that killed 18 people. How common is this, and how does this compare to what you see in the active geology of the Himalayas?
So the main thing is like the flood, right? So we saw different kind of flood in the Himalayan river basin. Last year in the same basin there was supra glacier lake burst out flood, which
Okay.
made like huge impact. And the year before, in 2024, there was another glacier lake outburst flood in Thame Valley. So in
Yep.
last 3
In the
years,
Everest region.
yeah, and this year this one is like different one. It's caused by the ice avalanche, and then it became the debris flow, and one of the like biggest hazard. I think the living like all of we saw in our lifetime.
So yeah, I mean,
Uh,
this is a lifetime, this is a geological event that happened. It's
So
not
actually
something.
in science, what we used to say, like we used to try to model like 10-year period return flood. So 10-year return period flood, 100-year return period flood. So we model like that, like while making the bridge, while designing the bridge. So we need to design like how much like the flood can impact and where can flood can come. So we design like that, but economically, which is not practicable, like once in 100-year flood can go very high, and economically you cannot build that kind of like bridge at a very high altitude, have a
Mhm.
higher
Yeah.
elevation from the river bank. So we cannot do that, but yeah, we used to do that. And this kind of event is also like once in 1,000 year.
Okay. This is a once in 1,000-year event. I was
Yeah,
talking
but yeah, it can come next year too, but like we can say this kind of flood comes once in 1,000 year.
And I was talking to people who were part of this initial drone reconnaissance group who went up to Timere, which is the village sort of right at the mouth of the valley where it's super steep. And they were saying that the floodwaters reached over 100 meters, like on up the valley wall. Like, this is just unprecedented in size and scale. Ari, can you help us understand? So you talked about this being from a glacial collapse. So one of the things that's being debated, and we don't need to solve this problem here, but yesterday I said that there was an earthquake. The earthquake caused this glacier to collapse, which potentially broke out a lake or something, or dammed the river. But it seems like the knowledge now has moved forward. Some people think actually the glacial collapse potentially caused the seismic activity. But basically what happened, if I'm going to explain it, you tell me if I'm right. There was a massive glacier on the north side of Langtang Lirung, which is a steep peak actually in the borders of Nepal. This is the same peak that you reminded me during the 2015 earthquake. There was a major glacial collapse on the south side, which wiped out the entire Langtang village, which was one of the biggest disasters of that earthquake. So now
Yeah,
this has happened on the north.
yeah.
And that glacier basically came off this mountain, and there was so much energy in that collapse that it liquefied and it took the saturated ground with it. Is that what happened? Like, can you explain
So
that to
yeah,
us?
yeah, you explained it correctly. Exactly, there was a big avalanche in 2015, and that was on the south side, and now it's in the north side. And in the north side, yeah, what we saw like it's everywhere in social media. There are like satellite images which shows like ice avalanche and which trigger the big cascading hazard by washing out all the debris below the glacier, which was created also created due to the glacier. Couple of years ago or couple of decades ago, 100 years ago, there are some glacier was like made moraine, we can see in the satellite image. So that ice collapse did was all the most of the debris there, and then it came as like yeah cascading hazard, like the debris flow, mud flow, and it became the cascading hazard. But behind that, it's from my understanding, as I have climbed mountains, what I saw in the mountains and how it started. So it's just my imagination, as it's in the leeward side, like north side. What I think is like there might be one cornice, right?
Cornice, yeah, yeah,
Cornice. Yeah, we can say cornice on the uh,
on the
edge
leeward
of
side.
the
Yep.
yeah edge of the like Langtang Lirung. There are long edge where like we can see beautiful edge and lots of mountaineer wants to walk that edge,
Yeah,
but there
yeah.
are cornice. So,
Hmm.
and this is the monsoon season, and there might be a huge load of cornice due to the monsoonal precipitation. And I think there was small cronies fall, might be due to the avalanche or might be due to the earthquake, or that made the earthquake. I don't know, but so there might be one cornice fall, and which can trigger the fresh snow or the wet snow on the northern side around 5,500 meter, which slowly help to break the ice at the tongue.
Yep.
And due
That
to the
makes sense.
monsoon summer season, the ice tongue elevation of ice tongue is very high, and which can make unstable which can create the instability in the lower part. So
Right.
both the cornice wet snow and the unstable glacier tongue can like yeah lead the ice
Right.
avalanche. And from the satellite image, it's people are saying, the researchers are saying it's around 0.27 kilometer square ice avalanche, so which is very
Wow.
huge
So,
amount.
so that's
Fail.
millions of tons.
So 100 to 200 like millions cubic meter.
Oh my God. So that's enormous. Yeah.
And
That's
then
measured in kilometers. Yeah.
that fall, like the fall was like 100 to 200 meter, so it's like very huge amount of snow and ice fall. And then it created like the big mixture of the debris and snow and ice together, and it's like rolling down and then melting together. And like, and as we know that it's like monsoon season, all the riverbank are saturated, wet, and also very warm due to the summer monsoon. And then yeah, so it created much more devastating strong energy, so we lost everything we saw.
Yeah.
So that's my understanding. As like in the mountains, we always saw lots of cornice, so it might be started with the cornice.
And I want to get back to what you said earlier too about this being a 1,000-year event. I think I've already seen some speculation about, well, how much of this had to do with encroachment in the floodplain, how much of this had to do with people living along in the river corridor where they shouldn't be living. But this event was so massive that it wiped out the whole valley. I mean, these were places where people had been safe for hundreds and hundreds of years, right? Like this was too big to predict for. This was too big for anybody to be able to necessarily keep themselves safe from. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah, it's very fair to say. In our like old people, like our grandfather were saying like that, live in the mountains, not in the river plain. So while live in the mountains and do the farming kind of things activity in the river plain.
Yeah.
So
Right. Right.
but now like due to the other things, people are like more uh
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. People migrate onto that good land. I live in
yeah
when I'm in the U.S., my house here is in the floodplain, and it was
yeah.
built by my great grandfather. And it's just a reality now. And so how much, I guess my last question for you, Ari, is, we've seen events like this also in Sikkim. There's been major flooding events that have been happening in recent years all across the Himalayan belt. This one, of course, is like the most violent, the most massive kind of blue sky event that's happened. But do you just, in your experience, anecdotally, does it seem like with the warming climate, that is an exacerbating factor in this? Do you think that with the warming temperatures, people in the Himalayas are going to need to prepare for more events like this in the future, or is this just a geological anomaly?
So absolutely, I'm completely agree with you. Like with the warming climate, the summer temperature are rising, but not only temperature is rising, it's also changing the precipitation pattern. Instead of snowfall, there are lots of rain, and the ground are warming much more. Permafrost are melting. The permafrost thaw is happening. So because of that, like the ground are much more unstable, and the as the precipitation is rain, it's like not staying in the ground, it's going to the river channel very fast, and it can create like the huge energy and the discharge, so which is very very dangerous. So it's due to the climate change, I agree with you. And it's like as we are working in the mountains, we have seen this kind of things a lot. Even on the glacier surface, there are very big river all the time during the summer monsoon.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Um, Ari, thank you so much for helping us understand this tragic event and how it happened. And we are sending so much love and hope for you and your family. And if there's anything we can do, let us know. But I really hope that the missing members of your family are found. And I'm so sorry
Thank
that
you,
you had to
Benda.
face
Yeah,
this.
hope everything will be like solved very soon. And then government is working on these kind of things, and then everybody is supporting the government, and international community are there. So I hope like praying
Yeah,
and
absolutely. Well, I hope we get to see you on Everest next year, and we can. This will be in the rear view. But again, Ari, thank you so much for your time, and
yeah,
we'll keep you posted, everyone.
yeah. Thank you.